Hello, fellow human! It's Doggo again, and today we'll be continuing with another Choosing Beggars collection. It's so cringy to give something for free, but Beggar decide to be choosy. Let's start with the first story by Illusion91121. This free computer isn't good enough. So I recently bought a non-working computer off Gumtree because it was the exact computer I had growing up and it would bring back memories, and for 15 bucks it was great. I picked it up and spent around 50 bucks on a new hard drive because the old one was busted, new thermal paste and a new GPU. I've got a computer's almost up to date on its drivers and I was really excited to use it to play old games. My neighbor's lost his job due to the pandemic and his son now needs a computer for his schoolwork. My mom asked me if I was willing to give them my computer that I just bought. And as much as I hate to do it, I agreed because I already have a really good laptop and a nice computer. Someone was in need of a PC, so I agreed. Last Friday, some restrictions were eased where I live, so now people can invite up to 2 people to their houses, so the kid and his dad came over. His dad was talking to my dad, and the kid came over to my room for a computer, as I still had a few updates to do that were necessary for applications like Google and Microsoft Office to work. They were display drivers and the software for internet adapter to work if you wanted to know. And I was going to update it to Windows 7 rather than XP it was running. I take him to my room and he sets his eyes on the gaming PC and he thinks that that's the one I'm giving away. He gets really excited and starts thanking me. I correct him and tell him that's my main PC and then point to the one I'm giving to him. It's a HP Compact from 2008, so it doesn't look the best and his expression immediately changes. He says, "I'm going to get that?" in an ungrateful manner, but the guy was 12, so I didn't think anything of it. I get him a seat and then tell him that I need to finish some updates to make the PC better, and he makes a comment about how ancient the operation system is. I once again ignore it, but he kept saying, "I don't think it can even run Google." At this point, I knew he was disappointed that a free computer he was getting isn't good enough, but I was still willing to give it to him. A good 10 minutes passed, and after silence, he asked me what kind of games it can run, and I tell him it's an old system, so it's probably going to run he's from its 2005 era at low quality. He completely ignored that and asked if it can run GTA 5. I tell him no, to which he replies with, "Then what the duck is this crappy thing useful for?" I reply with, "It runs Chrome, Word, PowerPoint, and other software well enough for your school needs, and that's the reason you need it for, so it's more than enough for you." He points towards my gaming machine and once again says, "You can do all that need bullcrap on the crappy computer, give me that one. You clearly don't need it because all you care is about the ducking Word." I decided not to deal with him anymore, so I told him to get out of my room and he'll get the computer I offered once I'm done with it. He slams my door on his way out, and 2 minutes later, my mom's in my room asking me if I yelled at little crap. I explained to her what happened, and I come downstairs to hear him telling his fake stop story to his dad and my dad. I explained what he really said, but I'm still willing to give him the computer. His dad just says, "Sorry about what he did, and it's okay about a computer, I'll get him one elsewhere." TLDR, I offered a spare computer to a neighbor's kid who needed one for his school study, but he wanted my main desktop instead. Well, at least the dad apologized. Hopefully he'll have a word with his sons about his manners. Well, good on you for lovingly restoring an old computer. I wish I knew how to do that. Now let's move on to the second story by Missouri. Scumbag dog owner. Years ago, a friend of mine got a puppy because his new girlfriend loves dogs. It was a golden retriever, so generally is an easy to train dog that's food motivated and a pretty fast learner. He asked if I can watch his dog for a weekend, give or take a few days, because he didn't know how long he'd be out of town visiting his ailing grandmother. I agree and ask about the type of food that the dog eats. Table scraps. I ask what kind of dog food. Table scraps, he eats what I eat. The scumbag doesn't even have dog food. He says he feeds a dog canned army surplus chili routinely because he gets 10 cans for $1. I tell him that he's going to kill this dog and try to explain about the dog's diet. He agrees to get the dog on regular dog food, but he also sounds like he's not going to actually do it. Today comes and he drops off a huge fat butt puppy that farts like crazy and makes this weird hork noise when it breathes too hard. I basically ripped my friend a new butthole for being a crappy dog owner. He leaves and says, "I'm going to get him on good dog food. We're going to walk him when girlfriend moves in," and blah blah blah. Trails off into bullcrap about being busy with work and depression and other excuses. I basically ripped my friend a new butthole for being a crappy dog owner. He leaves and says, "I'm going to get him a good dog food and we're going to walk him when girlfriend moves in," and blah blah blah. into trailer bullcrap about being busy with work and depression and other excuses. He later texts me and says dog isn't house trained. Yeah, thanks for a heads up, crap face. I figured that out when the dog took a massive chili stank poop in my bedroom and pissed all over the kitchen. He then asked me to get the dog some toys and start the dog on a pretty expensive dog food. Beneful, if I recall correctly, because he did some research and is the best. Bullcrap. He saw a commercial on TV and tried to house train him before he comes home. I think this a-hole planned it to have me to train his dog and pay for the toys because his lady is crap and cheap. Well, while he's gone, friend's new girlfriend dumped his butt because he was so stupid enough to post check-ins on Facebook and make comments about having a great time reconnecting with his ex in his hometown. Might not have been too bad until he said something like, "A couple more beers and I think she'll be ripe for the picking." Some dumb crap about planning to bang her. And now, I'm even more pissed because I was told he was going to visit his grandmother and help her pack and move into some assisted living place. He's checking in at places 2,000 miles from where his grandmother lives. So, the girlfriend dumps him, and now that the girlfriend isn't around, he has no need for a dog. The weekend, give or take a few days, ended up being 2 years. And after 2 weeks, I called, no answer. Texted asking when he was coming home, no answer. Basically ignored me for 2 years. 2 years later, the phone rings. It's him, acting like we're best friends. It's like we'd been buddy-buddy and nothing ever happened. It's an awkward conversation like he's just talking just to talk and doesn't really give a crap about catching up. I figure he's going to ask for the dog. Nope. We end the conversation and that's it. He calls a few more times over the next couple of weeks, and I think maybe he's really trying to reconnect. By now, I really don't even want to though. On the 4th call, it happens. He tells me he wants his dog back. Then come a few waves of ChoosingBeggar level bullcrap. I get pissed about the grandma lies, ignoring me, ditching the dog, and being just all around craphead. I flat out tell him to drop dead. He gives me this sob story about how I kept the dog from him 2 years, and now all he wants is a chance to cuddle some fluffy love. I tell him to drop dead again. He tells me his girlfriend loves dog, and I'm denying her a chance to have fluffy love. I assume fluffy love is what him dim-witted girlfriend called pet ownership. I tell him to drop dead. Finally, he pulled out the old, "It's really for the baby. No kid should grow up without a pet. Would you really deny a child the chance to grow up without a loving dog?" I tell him I don't give a duck, and he's not getting the dog so he can destroy him with canned chili and neglect. He demands $1,500, saying that what he's paid. I know he paid $800. I tell him he owes me $3,600 for a hip operation for the dog, as well as general vet visits, shots, toys, food, collars, leashes, grooming, etc. He tells me to screw off and says he's going to sue. Fine, go ahead. Not surprisingly, I never hear anything else about it. I'm proud to report that friend hasn't made contact in several years. Buddy is almost 10 years old, in good shape, and super happy. Well, this is one of those events where I say everything happens for a reason. You were friends with this person because a good boy needed you in his life to get your horrible friend out of your life and his life. Win-win for you and the doggo. On to the 3rd story by Birch25. CB wants grocery but doesn't want groceries. I'm moving out of Portland, OR, and have a lot of interaction with CBs, but I think this is my favorite. I was walking through the city on my way to get some groceries for the week when this woman, maybe in her late 40s or 50s, come running across the street in my directions, waving at me for my intention. Conversation following goes something like this. Me: "Hey, are you alright?" CB: "Well, no actually. My daughter's useless baby daddy got arrested since she dumped the kids with me. I'm trying to get them some food, but I haven't worked in a while so I don't have money." I always try to help someone if they ask for it, but I almost never give them money directly. My biggest issue is when people try to take advantage of my empathy. Just be honest, if you say you need a buck or a joint, hell, I'll give you 5. In most cases, when people say they need money to buy food, I offer to buy it for them. So that's exactly what I did. Me: "I'm actually on my way to Safeway right now. I'd be more than happy to have you come along and add something to my cart so that your grandkids would like." CB: "No way, that's way too far for me to walk. I've got this bad hip." For reference, Safeway was maybe 2 blocks from where we were, and she had no problem running across the street when she thought she was getting cash. Me, well, how about the bodega right there? It is a small grocery store that sells local organic products and is really expensive. CB, no, they have great food there. I was just going to buy a few things from Plate Pantry. Basically a 7-Eleven. Me, okay? Turn around and there's literally 100 feet away from us. Let's pop into that one. CB, no, I just want cash so I can buy them what they want. Me, look, I don't have any cash, but I'm going grocery shopping. And like I said, I'm more than happy to pick up a few things for me too. CB rolls her eyes again. No cash? Me, nope. CB, fine, thanks for wasting my time. They are so hungry and scared because they probably never see their parents again. Your generation has no sympathy for others. You don't know what it's like to have to work for a living. Me, alright, well, best of luck to you. I'm sorry that I was unable to help. I continued on my way and I did my shopping. It's Portland, so you pretty much deal with something like that on a weekly basis depending on where you live in the city, but I felt pretty bad. Stories about kids always get me. But who's waiting right by to the doors when I come out? Yep, CB. CB, thank you so much for doing this. Me, I'm sorry, what? CB, what did you get me? And could I have your change? Me, I didn't get you anything. I offered you but you said cash only. CB, well then let me get the change. Me, I don't have any change but I guess you can have this. I hand her a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter. She looks at it with disappointment. CB, what else did you have? And then she starts step forward and reaches for my bag. I jerk away and walk past her. Me, look, I'm not giving my food to you. I'd made you not one, but 2 offers to give you food. I'm sorry, but I'm not putting up with this anymore. I walk away with her, reminding me how selfish and entitled I am along with the rest of my generation. Yep, my generation is entitled. Well, you should have asked to see the picture of her children. A real caring mother always have the pictures of their children on their phone or in their wallet. I've pulled this on a few occasions and the begging mom told me to screw off. One even accused me of being a pedo. She probably just wanted some drug money. Next up, we have a story by Catherine. Guy wants me kicked off a plane because I won't move my seat. AD equals to annoying dude. Me? Yeah. Last night, I took a midnight flight from Australia to New Zealand on an airline service named similar to Plain Sun. For anyone that lives in or around Australia, you'll probably know this is your bottom of the barrel budget airline, so while it's cheap, let's be real, you can expect to be traveling in luxury. Therefore, due to my long legs, I did what any rational person does and booked an extra leg room in the emergency exit row aisle seat. I boarded, I sat, the plane took off. No typical Karen trying to steal my seat as most of these plane posts seems to go. About 30 minutes into the flight, as everyone is trying to get some sleep, the person behind me in standard seating, AD, start kicking my chair and swearing under his breath. The space is small, it sucks, I get it. After he settles down, I rest my back against my chair. A moment later, I feel a foot kicking my outside armrest and the following is heard. AD, can you move your seat? You're taking so much ducking room, I have no space. Me, mate, the seat is literally wilted to the floor. I'm sorry, but I can't move my seat. AD kicked the armrest again and I believe turned to his sleeping companion and said, "This stupid horrible woman won't give me any space and for duck's sake, my legs are squashed. I'm ducking tired, I want to get some ducking sleep, but I won't get any because of this ducking woman." Thinking back, I would probably should have called the steward at this point, but I'm flawed, and what can I say? Swearing is pretty normal thing here, but Christ! A couple minutes of silence later, and he's back at it again. Kicking back my seat like a toddler, punching the headset, shining his phone light on my sleeping face to wake me up and yell at me. Swearing to his companions about every kind of tramp I am, you get the picture. At one stage, I turn around to him and yell, "Can you stop harassing me for God's sake? I literally cannot move this chair." No response. I was at the stage where I kept saying to myself, next time he does it, I'm pressing the call button. Fortunately or unfortunately, for AD presses the call button, a stewardess came. AD, either tell this woman to move her seat or get off from this plane. I'm trying to sleep and she won't give me any ducking leg room. Stewardess, well, we can't move her seat, but we can move you to the back where there are less people. AD, just give me a chair with more ducking leg room. This is ridiculous. Give me her seat. Stewardess, there are some seats in the back. Follow me. As the stewardess walks down in the aisle, AD gets out of his seat, punches the back of my chair, grabs my ponytails and yanks it before walking off to follow the lady. By the time I turn around to yell at him about what the actual frick he thinks he's doing, he's quite a way down. While I didn't see him after that incident, I do know he didn't get a better seat because I booked the last extra legroom seat on the plane. The only other thing happened was when the plane landed and I tried to get off, 80's companion tried to body block me from getting out of my seat, but I was working on 30 minutes of sleep at this stage and just pushed her aside. I was way too tired for that crap. Wait, what? He pulled your hair? I rep told the attendant to have the police meet us at the gate. That is assault. And there we have the final story by Mike BWN80. No, your floors will not be free. I used to work for a hardwood floor manufacturing company. We made high-end custom floors. They would cost upwards $50 a square foot, but most of them were in the $15 range. For those of you who don't know, most hardwood floors are pretty durable. Maple, oak, and walnut were some of the more popular woods. To help with the scratches, we had an option to do hard stretch finish, kind of like a thin candy shell, instead of the oil finish that was the other option. Every so often, a customer will be looking at a budget rustic floor, sometimes with a reclaimed wood or barn wood, sometimes with a soft wood. One particular customer was looking for a pine floor with an oil finish, a floor that would most definitely not be very durable. They will walk through the options and went to the cheapest way every time. What they settled on a pine floor with an oil finish made to look stressed or age. It was a floor that they were warned repeatedly would be susceptible to scratches. Anyways, the floor was completed on time for about $9 a square foot. Possibly the cheapest floor I'd ever seen us make. I delivered the floor to their house, opened up a couple of packages, and they were very happy with it. Fast forward a few weeks, and we get an angry phone call from the customer. All the planks are scratched, and he wants the cost of the floors refunded. I was the one who packaged and delivered the floors, and I knew they were perfect when they arrived at the customer's house. I was dispatched to their place to see what happened. When I arrived at the livid customer's house, I immediately get screamed and blamed for the issues with the floors. I watch him open some of the packages, and I immediately know what the problem is. As he opened the packages, he drags the planks over at each other, scratching them. I point this out to the customer, and he replied that all of it came out like that and it's my fault. He wants all the money refunded and speak to the owner and tell him how terrible I am. I call the owner and he tells me to open some packages and confirm my suspicion. The customer is still yelling, so I suggest I open every package over 1,500 square feet of floor to prove my point. I spent the next hours meticulously opening up every package and proving that the problem was not with us, but with the way they were being opened and the type of floors the customer chose. We refused to take the floors back and refused to refund any money to the customer. He got exactly what he ordered, and in spite of our warnings. By the way, he had several big dogs who were going to destroy those floors in a hurry. Well, maybe he should have done his research about which floors scratch easily beforehand. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time.